Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay guys, we from group 4. We want to tell you about being formal and informal. Before that, allow me to introduce our member of group. First is me. My name is Wadratuddin Rizal. My register number 2010331013. Second, my friend is Nurul Atika. Her register number 2010331012. Third, my friend is Ika Wiwit Rahayu. Her register number 2010331014. Okay, being formal and informal. Formal and informal language serve different purpose. The tone, the choice of word, and the way the words are put together vary between the two styles. Formal language is less personal than informal language. It is used when writing for professional or academic purpose like university assignment. Formal language does not use colloquialisms, contraction, or first-person pronouns such as I or we. Informal language is more casual and spontaneous. It is used when communicating with friends or family, either in writing or in conversation. It is used when writing personal emails, text message, and its some business correspondence. The tone of informal language is more personal than informal language. There are 4 contents in being formal and informal. First, there is nominalization. Second is using it and there. Third, using I, we, you, and one. Fourth, formal verbs, noun, and adjective. Okay, I will tell you about nominalization. Nominalization is the use of word which is not a noun. Example, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb, as a noun or as the head of noun phrase, with or without morphological transformation. The term refers, for instance, to the processing of producing a noun from another part of speech by adding a derivational affix. Example, the noun legalization from the verb legalize. Some language simply allow verbs to be used as nouns with inflection difference, while others require some form of morphological transformation. Nominalization is a natural part of language, but some intents of it are more noticeable than others. Writing advice sometimes focus on avoiding a force of nominalization. The first, I will tell you about common nominalization from verb to noun. In verb, we usually say agree, but in noun, we usually say agreement. The next example, in verb, we usually say discover, but in noun, we usually say discovery. And another example. Next, I will tell you about common noun from adjective to noun. Example, in adjective, we say applicable, but in noun, we said applicability. Another example, careless. In adjective, we said careless, but in noun, we said carelessness. And other example. There are two types of nominalization are found in English. The first, nouns form adjective. The example, applicable from applicable, carelessness from careless, difficulty from difficult, and intensity from intense. Second, nouns form verb. Example, failure from fail, nominalization from nominalize, investigation from investigate, movement from move, reaction from react, and refuse from refuse. The next content is using it and there. If we don't have any other subject, we can use there or it. The first there. We can use first meaning is an adverb of place. For example, the book is there. It's a meaning the book is in that place. Second, there can also be a pronoun that doesn't really have meaning, but it used as the subject of a sentence when otherwise the sentence wouldn't have a clear subject. Example, there is a book on the table. It's a meaning a book is on the table. Next, use there as a dummy subject with a noun or pronouns or a noun phrase and the verb be. Example, there is a coffee shop next to the station. Or another example, there was a boy in the car. Next, use there with any tense of be, including modal verb plus be. Example, there might be cake at the party. Next, we can use there with question tag. Example, there will be a lot to do when there. Next, use a plural verb after there to tell about a plural noun phrase, and we use a singular verb with a singular noun phrase. Example, there is two houses on the street. It is example from informal, and example from formal is there are two houses on that street. Next, use there with identified noun phrase. Example, there is a shop on the road. Next, use a definite noun phrase with there when there means in that place. Example, there is the book I was looking for. It's a meaning in that place is the book I was looking for. Next, use there with some other verb and expression that are followed by be and I and a noun phrase. Example, there seems to be a problem. Next, there is often used with numbers or amount. Example, there was plenty of food. Next, there can be used with an expression of quantity followed by to plus infinitive. Example, there was plenty to eat. We use for plus noun to show who we are talking about. Example, there was plenty for the guests to eat. Next, use there with a verb other than be. Example, out of the darkness, the rode a knight mounted on a fine horse. Okay, the next is using it. We also using it as a dummy subject. It tends to be followed by an adjective rather than a noun phrase. Fourth, it is used with be plus adjective plus to plus infinitive. Example, it is nice to be here. Next, it is used with be plus adjective plus verb ing. Example, it is nice being here. Next, use it with times or date and days. Example, it is 2 o'clock or it is Wednesday. Next, use it for weather and similar conditions. Example, it is cold or it is rain. Next, use it for distance. Example, it is 3 miles to Lucy's house. Next, use it with people on the telephone or with people that we can see or when we point people out. Example, hello, it is me. Next, use it with some other expression. Example, it takes 2 hours to get to London. Next, use it with passive reporting verb. Example, it is believed. Next, use it with clear sentence. Example, it was John who cleaned the flat. Okay guys, that's all from me. If I have mistake, forgive me.
Okay guys, my name is Nuro Atika. I will explain about using I, we, you, and what. A. Using I and we. The word I is a subject which is usually used to denote oneself or person. For example, I will finish my presentation by consider the ways in which some animals migrate to survive. When comment on your own position in verb phrase, such as I would suggest that if the recommendation of the cartoon report were put into practice, we might see a reduction in number 9 time accident in rural village. In conclusion, I consider it unlikely that we will see a fundamental change in the attitude of most British citizens to immigration, which is why a basic level of equal right legislation will always be required. When people are presenting themselves as members of a wider community, for example, we know that viruses can adapt to survive. In there, where it's meet everyone in this lecture hall. We are already facing a water crisis in some part of the world. In there, where it's mean humanity. B. Using you and one. You and one can both be used to refer to people in general. You is informal and is more common in spoken academic English. One is quite formal. For example, if you make any kind of commercial or public inquiry, you will notice how the organization will use almost any strategy to encourage to find the answer via their website rather than by phone. The process of teaching one's own subject can provide new insight into it. In spoken academic English, you can use less informal style, but you should still avoid colloquialism and such as kids, stuff, cute, that easy. In writing English, it is normally better to avoid contraction such as did not, will not, and would not. For example, a company that will not invest properly in research and development is likely to interrogation. In this inaugural address, Barack Obama spoke of his work, talked about the long political journey he had been on. And alas, none of these important features were addressed. Similar words were conferred or dealt with in the work carried out by the grand jury inquiry. Thank you. That's all from me. Next step, the back the moderator.
Okay, I will explain about formal verbs, noun, and adjective. The first is verbs. For example, observe formal, while see informal. Next, request or inquire formal, while ask informal, and then select formal, while choose informal. For example, in the body of our report, we make reference to the significant contribution in the field of Professor Walter and Merlo at Columbia University. And then formal, for example, in the body of our report, we refer to the significant contribution in this file of Professor Walters and Merlo at Columbia University. The second is adjective. For example, famous, formal, while hungry, informal. Next, improv, formal, while better, informal, and then humorous, formal, while funny, informal. For example, the sole reason for delaying the launch of the new domestic heating system appears to have been a desire to avoid the summer period when few people are concerned with cold weather problems. While formal is the only reason for delaying of launch of the new domestic heating system appears to have been a desire to avoid the summer period when few people are as concerned with cold weather problem. Next slide. The third is noun. For sometimes for more formal nouns are particularly appropriate in law or politics. A spouse, husband or wife, and a sibling brother or sister, for example, are useful in being gender neutral. A dwelling means a place where someone lives without having the specify whether it is a house or flat. H and premise means a building or buildings, whether it is an office or a shop. H politician sometimes make pledges rather than promise, and countries may use an embargo rather than a ban to prevent some form of church. For example, several of the dwellings were condemned are unfit for human habitation. Next, police conducted a thorough search of the premise, but no drugs were found. And under the current law, a spouse must wait for 2 years after separation before beginning divorce proceedings. And then the government has made a pledge to review the composition of select